I'm the head of education for young adults at MyBank, and this is our first ever My Moneycast broadcast. So essentially what we're going to be doing with these broadcasts is giving you a chance to catch up on the news you might have missed, to get some information on one big topic every week, and we're going to have guest speakers in who are going to talk about the topic of the day. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through those sections today and let you see what they are. Today we're covering COVID-19 and how it might mess with your money. So stick about. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. We can answer them live, and I also have some moderators working to ask any questions that you may have. We're also going to be looking at well-being, especially with people maybe furloughed from work. If you're sitting at home and you're not sure what's going on, we're going to be talking about how to keep that well-being up during this difficult time. So if you want to get involved, social medias are floating along the bottom of the screen right now. Feel free to add, like, subscribe, put a comment in, chat. Yeah, we were just testing you. It works. But the more you get involved in this, the more we can tailor this to what you guys need. So if there's anyone out there who wants to get more involved, we'll be talking about how to do that later on. But first, we're going to get straight in with the news. So we're going to try and keep the news a little bit light and breezy. We know that the coronavirus is the big thing for people, and it's causing a massive stress for people all over the world. But we think that other news places cover the coronavirus much more than we can. We're going to focus on the financial aspects of things that are maybe coming up from the coronavirus, but we're also going to try and keep it a bit light and fun. We're going to try and focus on things that are fun, things that you might be able to get for free at this time, and things that might be useful for you to know, especially around your rights around money or staying financially stable at this difficult time. So the first one we're going to talk about, excuse me, is the Competition and Markets Authority. These are a watchdog, and they're threatening legal action about holiday refunds and wedding cancellations. One of the things that the Competition and Markets Authority does is it protects consumers from what we call unfair trading practices. So when people do things a little bit dodgy at business, the CMA are there to kind of protect people. They've had a massive influx of complaints recently, and 4 out of 5 of those complaints are about cancellations and a cancellation policy. Now, consumer rights law, and we'll talk about this later on, says that, and I'm going to get this from the wording, a full refund is offered if a business has cancelled a contract without providing any of the promised goods or services. This includes if no service is provided because of restrictions during the current lockdown, or if a consumer cancels because of the restrictions. And what's happening is that a lot of holiday programs are not offering cash refunds, and they're trying to get out of that legal obligation to offer the refund. Wedding venues similarly. So the other thing that the CMA have said is that they're going to follow this quite robustly, actually. They've said that the current situation is throwing up challenges for everyone, including businesses, and that does not mean that consumer rights can fall by the wayside. If we find evidence that businesses are failing to comply with consumer protection law, then we will get tough. That means launching enforcement cases and moving to court action where there is a strong reason to do so. So if you're worried about a thing that you've paid for and you're worried that you're not going to get your money back, or that you've been told that you're not going to get your money back and you think you should be having a refund, CMA may be able to help, and this push may be able to help a lot more. Next up, if you have children, or if you just like the Gruffalo, you might be interested in this. This is a book, Coronavirus, a book for children, which has been written by Elizabeth Jenner, Kate Wilson, and Nia Roberts. And it's been illustrated by, and I'm hoping I get this right, Axel Schaefer, who also did the illustrations for the Gruffalo books. It's a wonderful book to explain to young people to children what's going on. Lots of nice pictures to kind of explain some of the more difficult concepts and some of the more highbrow things. It's absolutely free. No one's asking for a penny for this. You can get this for free if you Google Noisy Crow coronavirus book. Seems to be the best way to get it. That's Noisy Crow, Nosyrow. Next up, I don't know if you're like me, but staying at home all day, working from home, and then having nowhere to go in the evening is a bit dull. I like theatre, so I thought I'd share this. Tonight, 7 o'clock, the National Theatre at Home programme is showing Frankenstein. Now, Frankenstein was done in 2011, but the NT for the last few weeks has been putting on lots of free theatre shows on their YouTube page. You can watch these for a week afterwards, so this one will be available from 7 o'clock tonight till 1 week's time, 7 o'clock, and which another show takes its place. I'm not sure which one that is, but these are a good watch. They're entirely free. You don't have to pay a penny for it. Some nice high quality theatre if you're into that. And the interesting thing with this show is that this got Benedict Cumberbatch, who you might know from Sherlock, and Johnny Lee Miller, and they switch roles. So a chance to see a decent theatre show for free. It won't cost you a penny. So that's one thing you can do tonight that's not going to cost you a dime. Lastly, I'm sure we've all heard the story of, well, I was going to say Captain Tom Moore, but Captain Tom Moore is now Colonel Tom Moore. Tom Moore turned 100 today. And if you remember, his initial fundraising target was to raise £1,000 before he turned 100. Well, he's done that, and he's raised almost £30 million in the process of his fundraising walks. And one of the things that happened today on his birthday was he was promoted Colonel. So congratulations, Colonel Tom. Happy birthday and well done. And that's the news. Now, of course, the big topic we need to talk about is the COVID-19 coronavirus and how it's messing with our money. So we're going to have a topic every week that starts like this. It's called The Big Topic. And the big topic every week will focus on one thing. Today, we are going to be looking at COVID-19 and money and how it might be affecting different parts of your life. If you have any questions about this, feel free to put it in the chat. And we will do our best to kind of keep up with what people want to know. But I'm going to go through this in 5 stages. And I'm also going to show you where to go to get more information after the stream is finished. So don't panic if you don't catch this all. First of all, let's start with benefits and working. The big news here is that a lot of people are not working at the moment, have been furloughed. Some people understand that very clearly. If you're not sure what furloughing means, it means that you're not working. The government at the moment is offering to pay 80% of the wages of the staff that are furloughed to the company that employs them. So if you're not working at the moment and you were employed before March 16th, you can ask your employer to consider putting you back on the books under the furlough scheme. If you're currently furloughed, your employer might choose to pay more than the 80%, but that's not government is paying. The government is only paying the 80%. If you're self-employed, there is a scheme where, as long as you've been on the books, I think you have to have done a return for April 2019, that you can ask for a amount of money that's worked out based on how much you earned over the last few years. Now, that may not help a lot of people, and some self-employed people do still fall through the gap. So what do we do if I can't get any of the job retention scheme money or any of the money for self-employed people if I've just started working for myself, for example? Well, the answer at the moment is claim benefits. You have universal credit and new style JSA, job seekers allowance. So if you have worked before and you've got about 2 years of work experience, you might be able to get new style job seekers, which doesn't rely on household income. So if someone else is working, it doesn't affect how much you might be able to claim. But the whole thing about the benefits claim system at the moment is that we know that benefits are tricky. We're not going to try and give you benefits advice on this very short stream. So if you have any questions, there's a couple of websites we'd recommend. Turn to Us is a very good website. The Gov website, just to check what you're entitled to, and EAB are also good places to go. We have some information on a website called The Mix, and I'll talk about that at the end. But if you want more, there's a lot more there. Next up, let's talk about housing. So first of all, we know that a lot of social housing programs in the London boroughs, at least, have slowed down or paused. So if you're waiting for social housing, we know that you might be frustrated. It's coming. Programs are going to be slowly coming online soon. But the problem with housing is that within essential services, if you start moving people around, they're worried that people are going to start spreading the virus. So there's been some holds there. Now, what happens if you can't pay your rent? If you've lost your job or you've been furloughed and the 80% isn't quite there? Well, first thing to say is that you haven't got an automatic right not to pay your rent. Some people think that because what's going on, they can just not pay and it's fine. You do need to let your landlord know if you have any kind of financial problems. And it's very possible that your landlord who owns the property can apply for support themselves, which might mean that you're more likely to get help. But I will say that it's not automatic. So don't assume that you can just not pay your rent. You do need to keep a hold of your landlord. Make sure you're talking to them about what's going on. And if you do need help, reach out and ask. One thing to say is that it has been made illegal to evict people initially for 3 months when the lockdown first started. So if you're currently going through eviction processes, you might want to check. We're pretty sure that you shouldn't be being evicted at this time. There were some horror stories of people who work for the NHS being evicted because they were doctors, and Shelter and other homeless charities like that came and to the aid. So if you have any questions about any of the things around housing, highly recommend Shelter, highly recommend Crisis, and obviously the Mix, which we'll talk about in a bit. Next up, holidays. You heard earlier on about the Competition and Markets Authority coming down on travel companies about refunds. If you have a holiday booked and you have insurance and it's a package holiday, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be protected and you're safe, especially if you paid with a credit card within the last 120 days or so, because you can be protected a number of ways. But there are a few edge cases. So number one, what if I've booked a holiday and I haven't paid for travel insurance yet? Can I get any to cover? The answer there is no. If you haven't got the travel insurance already, most insurers, if not all insurers at this point, are saying that you cannot claim for anything to do with COVID now because COVID is a known thing. So it's probably too late to get travel insurance. If you've booked things separately, flights and hotels, you should get a hold of each individual company and see if you can negotiate a cancellation. As you heard from CMA, if it's a package, if the service hasn't been delivered, you need a refund. The one thing I will say about that is that a lot of travel companies are finding that people want refunds and they may not have the cash all at once. So it might be a case of them delaying that refund, and there's a push to try and give it a month rather than 14 days, for example. So do keep your ear to the ground on that, and things are changing. But CMA is absolutely on it and is looking out for your rights when it comes to holiday cancellations. Next up with events, similarly to the kind of holiday line, if something's cancelled, you should be given a refund or a rebook. My wife had a couple of very, very exciting gigs booked for this year that she's had cancelled on her, and both have offered a refund or the ability to take a ticket for the next show. I know that Glastonbury and other big festivals are doing similar things. They're offering you the chance to keep your ticket and carry it over if you still want to go. But if you do want a cash refund, that is your right in most cases. So if in doubt, make sure you shout and get it to grips with what exactly your rights are. But in the main, you should be getting your money back if something's cancelled without your control. If the event isn't cancelled and you choose not to go, that is different. You may not be covered in that zone. Lastly, let's talk about debt and borrowing, because a lot of people will be thinking about how can I get through this tricky time. The first thing I will say is that you may have heard that a lot of credit companies are offering credit freezes or offering increases to credit amounts so you can get through the time by borrowing on your credit card or your overdraft. And while that can be really useful for some people, I will argue this. If you're struggling now, please do the math about whether you can afford to pay for things after you come out of this situation. Although it can be tempting to take that extra £1,000 that the credit card has offered you right now to get through this time, if you need it, absolutely, you do what you need to do. But if you don't need it, or if things are going to be really tough afterwards, maybe just take that split second to think about whether you're borrowing now is going to be leaving you in a much worse position later on. If you do need some financial help about getting through with paying bills and stuff like that, the first thing I would say is call the people you owe money to. 9 times out of 10, they're willing to help. They would much rather get a little bit of money from you on a regular basis than nothing at all. So do call them, do let them know you're in a sticky situation, and see what what help they can offer before just assuming that they're going to ask for all the money up front. But in general rules with debt and borrowing, don't stay silent. Again, I'm going to say, if in doubt, shout. Make sure you speak to someone. Step Change, there's lots of different debt charities out there, but Step Change is one that you can get to online or on the phone, the CAB in your local area. But make sure that if you're worried about your finances, speak to someone, whether it's someone that's close to you, that's a professional. One thing I will say is try not to take all your advice from Facebook, this stream not included, but make sure that you're getting it from a reputable source. And I think that's going to wrap it up for the COVID stuff. If there are any questions, please put them in the chat. But if you do want to have a look at this in your own time, we've partnered with themix.org.uk to put some content on that you might find useful. So there's the article which contains all that stuff and more. Plus, the Mix have all these services available to you if you need them. So if you want to speak to someone, join a forum to talk to other young people about what's going on, or just find some other websites that might be useful, the Mix is another option for you. So I think we're going to leave it there for the big topic, unless there's any other questions, and we'll move on to the next section. Now, one thing we want to make sure we do every week is try and get someone on who can actually talk about the issues that we're speaking about, with a little bit of. So we're going to introduce our next segment, which is called Real Talk. And today on Real Talk, I am joined by Amy Eubank, who looks after well-being for us at MyBnk's. So Amy has a special responsibility for well-being at MyBnk, joining up the efforts of HR, the senior leaders team, and everyone else, and outside organizations to make sure that MyBnk staff stay healthy mentally when they're at work, and also during these kind of difficult times. So Amy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to see you.
Oh, no worries. Thank you. So I guess, I mean, I've done a kind of quick blurb about what the role roughly entails. Do you want to take us into a bit more detail about what your role of being involved with wellbeing for My Bank does?
Yeah, sure. So it's very much about supporting people and putting as much emphasis on physical health as we do on mental health and mental well-being. We try to reach out to people as much as we can. We're part of the Time to Change pledge, which some of you may have heard of, which is an initiative which is run by mental health charity Mind and Rethink. And that's a 12-month pledge which is various initiatives and various ways to support staff, whether that be mental health first aiders that we have within My Bank, which are people, members of staff who are trained to support the rest of the staff and give help where needed, or whether that's social events or ways for us to come together as a team and acknowledge that actually sometimes times are difficult and that's okay.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we've noticed, with people losing jobs and going on furlough or just generally being unsure about their financial situation, that stress has clearly gone up, the kind of general thing around well-being. Is there any other kind of trends that you've noticed since this whole crisis has started about things that have either changed or increased over the time?
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think stress is obviously one that I'm sure all of us in this situation can relate to, whether you're the CEO, whether you're someone who's been furloughed, like you mentioned. A lot of people as well are having to move back home, which is quite difficult mentally because you've sort of potentially left home and you've gone out into the world and you're starting to forge your own way, and then suddenly you're back at home, and all of us when we go back to our parents end up behaving like kids again, because you can't help it, you just fall into ways of being, and that does take a strain on your mental health. So I think there's a big change of circumstance. There's also been a slowing. Inevitably everyone's had to slow down. We're not
Yeah,
going to gigs, as you say. We're not out and about. We're not going on that holiday. The diary is suddenly clear. And actually what slowing does is, in some ways it's good because we can take time to reflect, but in other ways there might be anxieties or fears or things that we're worried about that actually start to come up to the surface. And those fears and anxieties are very normal. There's a sense of loss around what we thought normal was, and suddenly it's changed, and it's okay for that to be frightening. I think it's really important to acknowledge that.
I think that point about it being okay, not trying to be strong or pretend to be strong for any kind of person or anything, I think is really important. So yeah,
Exactly, yeah, and vulnerability, allowing that in, allowing yourself to think, I feel a bit small today, and thinking, instead of thinking like, well, I shouldn't, because there is this there's this conversation around sort of comparative suffering as well, because we know there's a lot of suffering, there's a lot of very real suffering. There people are dying, people are very unwell, and that's very hard to come to terms with. But it doesn't, by you not acknowledging your own suffering and your own loss, that doesn't make the suffering of others any less. So actually, there isn't a scale. You're allowed to still feel a loss of your life and your normality, in contrast to other things that are happening, because they're all very big things. They're very hard to process.
absolutely. I know a couple of people that have moved weddings back by a year, or I'm meant to be in Mexico next week, but these things. I think you're right. People kind of don't want to talk about the hardship of losing those kind of personal things, but it's okay to be sad about not having that holiday or not to have that wedding. I think that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, sorry. Yeah. So the other question I had was, have you got any kind of top tips, things that you would suggest to people, especially being at home, working from home all the time, or not kind of knowing what's going on? Anything that you would suggest as a kind of top tip?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we know we're allowed to go out. We know we're allowed to, in the UK anyway, we're allowed to move. So I think moving your body, and it's that moving, the connection between body and mind again. If we can get out, if you can move, that's fantastic. I think, linking from what I said, giving yourself permission to feel all sorts of things, whether that's anger, whether that's denial, whether it's grief, whether it's at times, happiness, because you might actually be someone who struggles a bit in day-to-day life in terms of being in crowded streets, or there may be a level of anxiety there. So actually it's also all right to think, oh, there are some parts of this I'm enjoying, I'm settling into to a certain extent, and accepting that that's okay too. So one thing is accepting and giving yourself permission to feel those things. Talking, reaching out as much as you can to people when you don't feel great, but also when you think, I haven't heard from that person for a few days, ought to just check in on them. I'm just going to see if they're okay. And that will build up a community of people that will look after each other. And if you don't feel that you have people in your life that you're able to do that with, then please, you mentioned, I think, some phone counselling via the Mix, Nick. I
Yeah,
think I saw that come up. Please seek those sorts of ways to talk to people, to connect. People are still there. We're very lucky that we've got this technology. Even though we're distant, we can still come together, and you can ask for help if you need to.
yeah,
Also, I will just say, a lot of people at the beginning of lockdown were saying, I'm going to do projects, I've got this list of to-do things that I'm going to work through. And fantastic. If you've worked through that list or in the process of working through that list, that's wonderful. If you haven't, or if you've started and you've had to stop, don't worry about it. Just make your list, look after my mental health as much
yeah.
as I can, look after my self-care, and just have those one or two things on your list that are just, how am I doing today? I think I'm all right, or I'm not all right. Don't worry about alphabetizing the spice rack, or clearing out the cupboards, or any of
Yeah.
those things. They can wait. It's fine. Just look after yourself for now.
Absolutely. There's a comment in the chat actually that I wanted to raise. BZ said, definitely, just because you see loads of people doing a lot of stuff on social media doesn't mean you're not doing well. Others make themselves
Exactly.
busy because that's the way they deal with things. I think that's true. I think to compare yourself to anyone else's definition or standard of being okay or doing well just means that you're never going to be able to live up to any standard, because you're always going to find someone else to chase. So be okay with how you are, and know that it's okay to not be okay sometimes.
Totally. And that comparison thing, it's hard enough anyway in social media. You're constantly seeing people doing things, but at the moment, I think it's even more so. So take a step away from the social media if you feel it's not helping you, or alternatively, taking a step away from the news is really important. I know for me, certainly, I can get into patterns of, what's happening today? Are there going to be any announcements? Are we going to know what's happening? And that can feed negative thought patterns. And actually, you don't need to know. If anything big has happened, you'll find out. Someone will text you. If there's some big news, you don't need to be constantly checking in.
So you mentioned that one of the things you were doing was not watching as much news to try and kind of
Yeah,
keep it
trying
kind
to
of
step away from the television a bit. Yeah.
yeah. So is there anything else that you're doing that's a little bit fun? Like, one of the things I've done is I've renewed my love for a Diablo, which, if you don't know what it is, it's those spinning things on sticks that you do this with and throw them in the air. That's been my kind of release at the end of a work week. Go outside and spend an hour doing that as my kind of exercise. So is there anything you'd recommend, or anything you've been doing personally that kind of works for you?
Can I just say how much I love that you're doing that, Nick? And that is a really enjoyable mental image for me to replay.
When it works, yes. When I get it right, yes.
I'd like to see it when you get it right, or when it goes badly, to be honest. I'd enjoy watching either. Yes, so I think structure is really important. We've lost all structure, all the things that we were used to doing. So maybe setting an alarm, getting up. I found that I was wearing a lot of baggy clothes and thought, wait a minute, I've got some nice dresses that aren't seeing spring. I'm going to get those out. So, potentially dressing for work. Also, if you are feeling anxious, if you are feeling stressed, writing some things down, taking a pen and paper and just putting it out there. And there's something very cathartic about allowing your thoughts and feelings out and getting them on paper, which can be helpful. And it might feel silly, but no one has to see it. I think it's very much about doing what feels right for you and trying to connect with those feelings and be authentic, whatever those feelings are.
Wonderful. I think that's great. And I think if anyone's got any questions for Amy, put them in the chat right now. But otherwise, what I will say, is there anywhere, I'm sorry, blinding Amy with this, any kind of websites you might recommend people to go to? I know that there's lots of apps and stuff that you can get as well now.
Yeah, so the Mind website is great. If you just look up Mind charity, maybe we can include that somewhere on notes. And yeah, I think there's some fantastic podcasts out there as well. If anyone's interested, there's some great podcasts. There's one called How to Fail, which is talking to people about. It sounds more negative than it is. It's actually very positive. It's about what you learn from difficult experiences. And we're all in the midst of a very difficult experience. She's got some great guests on there. That's run by Elizabeth Day. There's another podcast by Brené Brown, and she's talking about how to manage anxiety. There's lots out there. And just finding ways to find support and connect in a time when we all feel very adrift.
Social distancing doesn't mean emotional distancing.
Quite. Very good. Yeah.
Right, Amy, thank you very much for joining us today. Massive thank you. And we'll hopefully might have you on again.
Thanks, Nick.
Great.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Okay, we're almost there. Last segment we're going to share with you today, and it's one that you might be able to help us with at home. We're always going to end the show with a kind of "and finally." So here we go with "and finally." So the idea of an "and finally" normally is it's going to be something fun or something silly, something, you know, a bit off the wall. So if anyone out there is watching this thinking, I've got stuff for you, stay with us. We'll be explaining how to get some of that stuff to us just in a second. But for now, I'm going to share something we're doing. Declan, who is the moderator at the moment, if you can put in the chat a web link to the money mantras that we discussed earlier, that would be great. We've got some money mantras, little kind of sayings about money. For example, a fool and his money is soon parted is my personal money mantra. And we've been asking our staff to reimagine them as very short videos for social media. So I'd like to share one with you by Naomi Darling, who works with us. This is her take on one of those money-based sayings.
I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Celebrate good times, come on.
I mean, like, it's wicked. So the idea is you take the money mantra that we've got on our website, you then make a way to put that onto video, send that to us, and we can get it on our socials. But also, if you just want to send us anything, we will take it. But in the "and finally," we want this to be something that's fun, something that's different, and we want to try and get some voices of young people involved. So if you have anything for us, we'll send it to us, and we'll explain that in just a sec. So that is essentially the broadcast for this week. So like I said, if you want to join us on any of our social medias, they're scrolling along the bottom of the screen now. We're going to be streaming to these platforms every week on a Thursday, hopefully without the mute mic for the first 5 minutes. We'll see if we can fix that in post. And we're going to be live every Thursday with a different topic. So if you have any ideas for topics, if you would like us to specifically cover a specific thing that you're worried about, or if you just want to send us some video that we want to include, or just get in touch with us, you can email us at info@mybank.org. That's info@mybank.org. Send us through anything you'd like, and we'll try and get it involved on the broadcast. I guess that's it for the first show. My name is Nick Smith Patel. I've been your host for today. Hopefully we'll see you next week at 4 o'clock. Any ideas, anything you want to send us, don't forget info@mybank.org. And until next week, stay safe. See you later.